Well, thanks very much for the invite to speak. I'm going to stay as long as my daughter permits me to stay, so I probably won't be very long after I speak, actually. But it's a great honour to speak to so many young people. I'd like to sort of say that my oldest daughter is 25 years of age, and my youngest daughter is 3 years of age. And my oldest daughter was discouraged for going to university because she feared that she would come out with a lot of debt, and a lot of debt that she would have to pay back when she got a job. Of course, the situation has got even worse now, and we hear that there's going to be no caps on tuition fees at all at some of the leading universities if this government get their way. And filtering back further into the education system, we hear that anybody basically can set up a school. It's obviously an attempt to smash the National Union of Teachers and the other trade unions in the teaching profession. But we're here today to talk about what's happening in Britain and what we've been involved in. I think we're all aware that there's been massive upheavals in places like Greece and France, and currently in France actually, against this crisis of capital which we're in. And I think it's pointless just saying that it's down to finance capital. It's not just down to finance capital, although it has been deregulated to such an extent that this can happen. But these crises in the capitalist system are obviously a periodic thing. They happen from time to time. And I think if we're going to be serious about this, we don't just single out finance capital and attack that. We have to put the blame squarely where it belongs, on the whole capitalist system. The global crisis has also affected Ireland, the country of my origin. And the banks have not only gone bust there once and have to be bailed out, but they've gone bust twice. And people are paying what they call a recession tax, where 5% of their wages go into paying up for what the banks have squandered. And I think it's an indictment of the Irish trade unions and their policy of partnership with the bosses, that there's been really no coordinated fight back against this at a leadership level, although there has been a fight back against it from the rank and file. In Britain, we have a situation where we're out on strike as the RMT. We've had 2 one-day strikes, and we're about to have another one-day strike starting on Tuesday night, running through Wednesday. And this is against job cuts in the transport industry. There's now 2,000 jobs that are at risk. 800 are operational staff, the people who help you on the tube, the people that help disabled people, the people that help people with children. These are the people that they're looking to get rid of, and the government propaganda that's going out is calling these people ticket office staff. Well, they're not ticket office staff, they're multifunctional staff. And these are not the only people that are involved. Every one of these staff has got a place in contingency plans for emergencies in stations. So if there's a fire or there's a bombing in a station, then these are the staff that have got a plan in the evacuation who get people out very safely. The same people, in fact, who've been decorated after the 7/7 bombings. It's in the recent media of how they acted heroically. Of course, heroics are obviously well down the line when it comes to cutting costs. Heroics don't count anymore. So all these people who were essential before in saving lives were told that they aren't going to be needed. Not only that, but they're planning to cut back the maintenance on the trains, including things like changing brake locks on trains from every 14 days to every 28 days. And we've published in the media again, and I don't say this in the front of the Evening Standard, we've published pictures of brake blocks totally worn away after 14 days. And they plan to have another 14 days on top of that. Not only this, but they're also planning with the maintenance on the tracks. Instead of having it every 2 weeks, they're going to have it every 8 weeks. So they're quadrupling the time between the maintenance on the tracks. So if this government gets its way, you're going to have unsafe trains running on unsafe tracks. And people might remember about a month ago now, we had a train run from Highgate right the way down past Warren Street. And that was because of lack of maintenance as well, and the unsafe procedures that London Underground are using. Of course, we've also got the fire brigade strike, where they threaten to sack the entire London Fire Brigade if they don't sign up new contracts. It's absolutely disgraceful. And I've got 1 minute left, so I'll hurry up. But what we've got to do, and I mean it's TUC policy now, On the one hand, the TUC say we should coordinate strike action, which we're only too happy to do. On the other hand, they say we can't even have a mass protest against this until March next year. And I can imagine the French workers, petitioning their union federation by saying, TUC, get off your knees, call a national protest. It's absolutely absurd. They'd be burning buses and barbecuing lambs on them. And it's very clear. One of the slogans from the 1930s, from the last major recession, was act with the trade union officials where possible and act without them where necessary. And I think this has got to be something, that workers and students can do together. Because even if we do have a national demonstration, this thing's not going to be won by people walking up and down. We had 2 million people walking up and down against the war, and absolutely nothing happened. They still went ahead and had the war. So, and I'm certainly not encouraging anybody to set off fire alarms or pull safety handles on the tube, and that would be an appalling thing to do. But I think that these scab fire brigades union, this dad's army that they've cobbled together of nightclub bouncers and the rest of them, will find it serious pressure if people went and done that sort of thing on tomorrow's strike. And I really hope that doesn't happen. But we're told there's no alternative, and we're told we're all in this together. We're all in this together because the Queen, God bless her, and the rest of the civil list are having their millions of pounds that they get a year. That's been frozen for a year. I'm sure they'll struggle by. But, that's the same as every working people losing their jobs. I have to say, there is an alternative. They can scrap the Trident replacement for the nuclear weapons that we don't need. They can close down the tax loopholes that allow people to stick their money offshore and not pay a penny on it. And the PCS have done a very, very good survey on this, about the billions of pounds that people are avoiding by employing accountants and stashing their money offshore. So that's another way. Of course, we could stop invading foreign countries like Iraq and Afghanistan. That would save billions of pounds every year. Not only that, but the lives of young British men and women, and of course the hundreds of thousands of people that have been killed in those countries, the civilians that have been murdered in those countries by this imperialist policy. I'll tell you what, all these common sense things, and by the way, we can look closer to home because Boris Johnson can make 100 million a year by using the extension to the congestion charge on the people that drive the Chelsea tractors around Chelsea and Sloane Square. So when he says he's saving 26 million quid a year by getting rid of tube workers, of course, if he was to attack his own class, the rich and the idle rich around Chelsea and Sloane Square, he could make that money up 5 times. But of course, Boris is a class fighter, just the way we've got to be class fighters for our class. I have to say this, we're not going to stop this by marching up and down. We've got to have a coalition amongst ourselves between workers and students. And we have to go further than marching. Where necessary, we've got to take direct action, we've got to take civil disobedience and send a clear message to this wearing government. We're not having it.